Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Heather Spears, and for those of you who do not know, fashion is my thing. So anyway, today I just want to let you know this is actually a repost video, and I'm actually reposting it. I originally made this video for my channel with my sister called The Spears Sisters, so some of you might be familiar with that. And the reason why I'm reposting it is because I felt like the content was better suited for this channel. I mean, this is my fashion channel and I have a lot of other DIY tutorials like this that have gotten much better, I might add. This was my very first one, so please keep that in mind as we go forward with this. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of take that and bring it to this channel because I have so many more DIY things on this channel for you guys. And I thought that it kind of just fit in better since I don't really do that on the Spears Sisters. So that is the reason for the repost. Now I just wanted to make sure you guys had this over-the-knee boot DIY tutorial at your disposal. And before we get started, please know I actually do have a written version of this tutorial. I put the link down in the description box below. So if you guys are ready to get started, and it's easy for you to follow along that way, just go ahead and click that link. And if you'd rather just proceed with the video, give me a thumbs up so I know that you're excited to make yourself some boots, and let's get started. To start, you're going to need quite a few things. You're going to need a pair of boots or booties that you're fine with recycling, industrial strength fabric glue, or an alternative would be hot glue. You're gonna need a pair of leggings, 2 zippers, scrap fabric, elastic, fabric scissors, pins, a marker, a razor or X-Acto knife, a roll of not very sticky tape, and optional, completely optional, is paper. As now these are the supplies you need, so let's get started on actually making these things. So the very first step in what we're doing here is we're actually measuring out how high we want our boots. And in this case, we're going to do thigh-high boots that is over the knee. But the best practice on measuring your boot height is depending on the length of your zipper. So you make sure you measure how high you want your boot before you go buy your zippers, and so that way you get the right length. The top of these leggings we're going to need them later. So, just push those off to the side. And since my leggings are layered, I'm going to make 2 lines of pins down each of the seams like this and cut out the existing seam in the middle. And I put the pins in, that way the fabric won't separate, and I'm going to actually sew my pieces together. But since most leggings don't have double fabric like this, they don't have like a little overlay, it's probably not all the way necessary for every single one of you who is making your own pair. So just keep that in mind. You'll see a base stitch on some of these pieces. That's just to hold the fabrics together since there are 2 layers. Okay, so now it is time for probably the least fun part of the whole tutorial, and that is installing the zipper. So you're basically going to install the zipper just like you would normally do a zipper, and the only thing that I have to note here is that my zipper doesn't attach at the bottom. So that means that the bottom of my leggings here are going to be completely separated. Yours might not be that way. It depends on the kind of zipper you bought for this, but basically if you do have one that doesn't attach at the bottom, just leave it. It'll make it a lot easier to wrap around the booty at the end, and you'll see what I mean once we start gluing. But just as of now, just know that your zipper might attach at the bottom and it might not, but if it doesn't, just leave it that way because I think it will give it a much cleaner look at the end. So our next step is we are going to be using our scrap fabric to make, I'm going to call it like a little tube. You just cut it out to the right size, the exact same size as the very top of your leggings, and fold it over just to create this tube. And what that's going to be used for is inserting the elastic to keep our boot from falling off of our leg. So once you sew together this little piece, measure out some elastic and cut it to the right size, a little bit tighter so that it stays up. You want these boots to stay up while you're walking. Use like a pin or something to feed the elastic through after you sew the tube onto the existing leggings. So you get this little black fabric on the top and that is super important to keep these things up. You want them to stay up while you're walking, and it creates this tight, just tight around your leg right where you need it. And once you're done feeding the elastic through, just put right side to right side, and actually, in contrary to the bottom part, we're going to sew this part together, and that will be sure to keep these boots from falling right off of our leg. So now that we have both of the tops of the boots ready to go, let's push those aside, and we're going to work on the base of the shoe. Starting off, I'm going to take my thin tape and tape the base of the shoe completely. And you want to use thin tape. This is painter's tape that I'm using. And it's just going to be much easier to peel off and much easier to use. And what we're actually doing here is we're making a pattern, and it will make your pieces of fabric absolutely perfect when we go to attach this to the base of the shoe here. At the end, it should look something like this, like something you would never wear. But using a marker, I'm going to mark the locations where I want my seams. And this definitely depends on the shape of your boot. So use where the boot already has its seams as a guide to where you want to put yours, and in the end you're going to get a really, really clean product. So now that we have the seams completely marked out, we're going to take our X-Acto knife, or a razor if you don't have an X-Acto knife, and shear the seam marks. And you're not going to want to cut too deep into the boot here because you could end up messing up the boot, but just shear it enough to where you make a mark through the tape, and then unpeel the tape very carefully. And it's optional, but the next step, I am actually going to stick the tape onto paper and measure out a very small seam allowance, just a 1/4 to 1/2 inch, and I'm going to cut the paper and use the paper as my pattern. I do this just to make the pattern slightly larger so I can fold the edges over in the finished product. Some prefer to use the stickiness of the tape directly onto their fabric and avoid this step completely, but I like to carefully fold those edges just to get that clean look at the end, and you can choose whichever way you want to do it, but I'm just going to stick this straight onto the paper and measure out just that slight seam allowance so that the end is just a little bit cleaner. Okay, so this is getting pretty exciting. Next we're going to grab our leftover fabric from our leggings, and we're going to cut it so that we have 2 pieces of fabric laying on top of each other. And what you really want to make sure of right here is that either wrong side to wrong side is facing each other, or right side to right side of fabric is facing each other. And that is just so that when we cut out our pattern pieces, we are getting one piece for each shoe, and you'll see what I mean here. If we had right side to wrong side facing each other, it would actually cut out the exact same shape, and you'd be left with 2 right feet or 2 left feet, and we don't want that. So line up your pattern on top of your fabric, pin it in place, and carefully cut out these pieces. Not enough fabric? Well, that's okay, because we do still have the scrap fabric, and in my case I did not have enough fabric, so I did have to use my scrap fabric to cut out my 2 back pieces. But at the finished product, that is completely okay because it does match that top tube that we made for our elastic. Okay, so let me just do a really quick recap here of the pieces that I cut out, just because it does get a little confusing. I cut out 2 inner back pieces out of the scrap fabric, 2 outer back pieces out of scrap fabric, and 4 front pieces out of the regular legging fabric. So for each shoe, I have 1 inner back, 1 outer back, and 2 front pieces. So finally, it's time to grab our glue. So we're going to grab our glue and glue the pieces into their proper location on the shoe. If you gave yourself seam allowance, carefully fold over that edge of your fabric and glue it to get that finish that won't fray and that will last maybe just a little bit longer. If you didn't, that's fine. You just glue it right down where it belongs. By now you should see the light at the end of the tunnel because we are almost done. And I'm sure you know what we're going to do last is we're going to grab that top portion of the boot that we previously installed the zipper on and carefully wrap it around the top of the base of the shoe. Apply glue to attach the pieces, and just below the zipper where we had left those wings opened, get some glue there and you push those pieces together and it should look like a finished seam without even having to sew it. And that's kind of just gives it that cleaner look there. And finally you have the satisfying feeling of being finished. But remember, despite how exciting it is, wait until the glue dries completely before trying them on, because you don't want to mess these things up. You just spend a long time putting them together. Okay, so that is it for the tutorial portion of this video. But I did want to show you guys what the boots look like on and out and about. So I wore them to a party at downtown's The Block, and then I wore them again for a Instagram photo experience, and that's what I have to show you guys here in this video. Now, I actually wear these boots quite a bit, and in the one video you'll see at the party, it was actually raining, not bad, but it was raining some, so they've gotten wet. And let me tell you, I'm very proud of how well they've stood up with the simple supplies that we made them out of. So they've held up some. I'm not saying I think they'll last forever, but they definitely have gone through a little bit more than I thought they would, so yay. Okay, you guys, so that is it, and I just wanted to come back by and thank you guys for your time and coming out here to spend this minute with me, and I really always appreciate it. So if you enjoyed this video or found any of the tips helpful, please give me a thumbs up so that I know. I have plenty more content like this on my channel and coming out soon, so if you'd like to see more, you're always welcome to join me. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, and we can always hang out. So until next time, I hope to see you back. Bye!